Around, and I've probably said it to everybody, it has a, don't forget that these project deep, right? The corner of the eye comes in deep. If you didn't do that, you wouldn't have any peripheral vision, right? So we're going to come around like this. Okay. This is your brow. Again, if we want to go with teardrop forms, we got a teardrop form that's in through here, right? Then we have another teardrop form that almost this yin and the yang of teardrop forms. Right? Here's the eye. Can I do this on the mic? Here's the eye. Here's the brow, or the sinus, right? Then we have that sausage form that I talked about before that kind of comes around and goes underneath it, right? And then you'll have an eye. Maybe that's a little low. Then you have the eyelid underneath that. So in other words, it goes like this. Brow. Now, the thing about the brow is it doesn't go all the way to the other brow. There's a bridge between the two. Right? Call that the glabella, right? And of course remember I was saying it goes around and we always go in deeper than we think we should on the inside of that eye, for color reasons again. So we get the teardrop form for the brow that's through here, that kind of begins with mass here and runs off this way. Then we have this kind of sausage form that has this mass here that actually runs down deep underneath the side of the eye over here. And all this is going against the structure that we built from our knowledge of the skull, right? On this convex form here. Okay, so that's running down into the corner of the eye. Let me outline that, make it emphasize it a little bit. Then directly underneath that, you'll find an eye, the top eyelid, upper lid. And again, that tucks underneath there and with a lot of variation. But with me, you can pop that out more than it would physically go if you want to catch light or if you want to cast more shadow. So you can use these to, again, we're creating form and we're not just drawing lines on a surface. We're creating positive forms. You can see I'm using the end of the tool to press. And then, when you might draw in the bottom lid that comes below that. Now this is all, again, it's governed by this structure, this three-dimensional structure, which is, basically at its root, that orbital cavity, right, that we saw on the skull with a sphere inside of it. And then all the muscles and all the soft stuff kind of ride over top of it. So again, other professors might tell you to dig it all out and drop that sphere in, which I don't work that way, so I find it difficult to teach that way. But it is a good way of thinking about it, so that you understand how that's working. So again, that's that top eyelid coming down and in to the corner of the eye. Again, we're going to re-emphasize the depth there. Right? And then the bottom eyelid comes around and it's softer than the top eyelid. It's almost as if everything on the top is repeated on the bottom in kind of a less severe or a minor way. You talk about its depth, its robustness. Everything tends to be a little less robust underneath. And I'm just spending a little time clarifying here for you. So that bottom lid generally doesn't have as much, as much definition at the bottom because there's more movement at the top of the eyelid. But you need to put a little bit in there. Again, there's that mass or the bags under the eyes, which over the years have become more pronounced on me. And they tend to kind of come down and around like this, and then you have the bottom. That's almost a mirror image of what's going on up here in a lot of cases. It's just like that, opposite. And then you get the bone again, right? So this might be considered the opposite of the brow, right in here. Okay? So let me finish it off too. This is the brow. There's that sausage, which maybe I'm not doing so well. It's kind of coming up. Here's the eyelid. That comes around. We get that characteristic little guy in there. Coming around like this. Right? You got the bag. Like that. And then you have that bone. It's the cheekbone. Right? You see that? Oh, it's kind of silly, but whatever. And it's kind of crooked this way. Two-dimensionally, you understand, right?
Yeah.
Is that clear enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess, this is something, again, what I like to do is I like to add those things or put some of that information in. Just to have it there. And then keep fussing with it. Keep pushing it around and thinking about it. And instead of cutting it off and just trying to start over, you put it in and you mess with it. Okay? Whenever you put something down, it takes a while to get it right. So then off of the eye, we have the inside of the nose. I guess this is a very analogous deep set to the corner of the mouth. Because what's happening here is it's a series of forms. It's creating that hollow, which gives you color, which gives you movement. That's the same thing here. It's almost a way that, yeah, there's forming here. If you look at physically, if you look at a life cast, there's mass there, depending on where you are, how much water you drank that day, all sorts of things. But there's a bunch of forms coming together. You're going to have a color change in there, and you may as well go in deep at the beginning. You might want you just get that deep inset. It's going to make the mouth or the eye look more round. It's going to look like it can do more, right? So we'll go in deeper. And so against the side of the nose, there's things in there, but what I'm going to emphasize is just that strong, kind of blocky form that comes off and is rooted up underneath the brow. Right? We talked about the ridge, which in my case, fairly strong. I'm a man, some women will have less of this, but so there's a mass there. Oh, I should go back real quick. Eyebrow. You see here where I really didn't draw in an eyebrow, and that's really important that you don't kind of scribble in the hairs on the eyebrow. Remember to do it. But it's all about the shadow, and our eyebrows always follow our bones, right?
But how do you do, because there's kind of like lines there. How do you do those lines?
Okay, I put a line here to describe what I was doing. Over here, you see that there are
Like the hair part.
lines, but those weren't hairs. Those are me going.
Oh,
Okay, so that I wasn't trying to create a shadow. I wasn't trying to create hair. What I'm doing here is creating a shadow that will emphasize that. On this, over here, you can see that the hairs on this are coming out, they're kind of messy. Over here, there's a trick on the inside of a mold where if you do want it to look more like hair on the inside of a waist mold, you can carve them in very easily. So you don't do it here no matter what, and it ends up looking, when you start trying to draw in hair like that, it ends up looking very bad. I'll just use that word. All right, I won't use anything. So don't. You follow it, and if you want an eye, if you want to emphasize an eyebrow, you have to emphasize it with shadow first. All right, and then maybe you go in later and do a little bit of hair work, but you know that it's all about shadow. Okay, so we got our brow, we got our nose firmly kind of rooted up in there. It's really driving in. In my case, other people are just going to have a lot softer areas through here. It's very, you know, not a lot of brow. You're just looking around. Yeah, that's normal. It's like females have, you know, have a softer brow, and so you'll get, if you want to turn me into a girl, you could probably just make my. I think there would be more you'd have to do with it, but you could make it look a little bit more feminine by reducing the amount of sharpness underneath it. So as this comes out, often you'll see a little bridge there. I'm not going to talk about that. Then it comes down to the tip of the nose and the nostrils. And again, getting back to our teardrop theme, you can create a teardrop in here on both sides, right? That kind of does this. Right? Which extends up in. Starts here, boom, right? And then kind of runs off this way. And then again, the yin and the yang starts, here's the teardrop at the here, and it actually comes off and then rides underneath. It runs underneath like this. See that? You might need to come in to see that line. That's how I kind of think about the nostril and the tip of the nose as interacting form. You see that? But it's important that it comes down and around. Now, the other thing about this is that I mentioned was there's the wings of the nose that come down, and it's basically a muscle that's in here coming down. It's called the snarling muscle. So it does have mass on the side of the nose. And the other thing about the nostril is that, you know, this depth right in here, as this goes in on this side, is really important to your, the way the mouth looks, right? If you go in too deep, it's going to make the mouth usually look a little too big, believe it or not. And make the nose look too big, obviously. Whereas if you bring it out, you might get a little sense that, you know, maybe I'm holding my breath. So those are all the forms, right? Any questions? Those are all the main forms I got all around there. And I think what's important here, going back to that idea, is that, again, we start with that overall structure, and then we're starting to go through and we're naming those regions, and they are all, and when I say named, it means not that you have to remember the name, but they're rationalized, they're thought of, they're filling a space that is important. And everything through here is just as important as everything through here. You can't, you know, we can't have just nothingness and expect these parts to look correct. They sit within a universe or a cosmology that is rationalized. I know that's kind of, it's too much to talk about. But yeah. Oh, I didn't talk about the neck. Neck, simple forms, right? We started out with the cylinder, and that interacted with the rib cage. It was down here. We talked about the way the trapezius starts about here. We do have a occipital process, which kind of starts and kind of dives in here. And it generally is a bump on the back of your head that you can all feel if you but it's softer, so I didn't really depict it. We have then two forms, two kind of like major positive forms that run down. Trapezius, very complex fan-shaped muscle, which the muscle fibers up here goes further, like straighter down. And as they come off the spine, they start to swing out, which creates this spiral, which creates this kind of characteristic shoulder form, okay? Meaning, you know, you see the muscle fibers that are up, start up high, come down deeper, and actually echo the sternocleidomastoid, which is this muscle. And then as they go down, they start springing out towards the shoulder. All right. So that's where that spiral comes from. Sternocleidomastoid, we know where the mastoid process is, right behind the ear. And it becomes this spiraling form that comes down, right? It is a positive form, but it rides against a cylinder. So don't emphasize it too much. There's still a cylinder here with just a little bit of a bump out of it. Okay? And that comes along here. Then with the neck, we have the windpipe, the throat area that comes up from between. Now what happens is the sternocleidomastoid comes down and it interacts with the clavicle, which is through here. You have two kind of bumps here and here, which create the pit of the neck, right? Here. And then the throat obviously comes out of here, which is a very good cylinder, again, that's attached to it. So this should be a very strong positive form underneath here. It comes up, it breaks at that line. We have the, what did I call it? The ligament that comes down across it. I know I remember the name last week. And then that kind of breaks it in, and then right underneath this jawline, here's the jawline. Along here, we have, again, this positive form. Most, you know, in my case, it's mostly fat. In your case, maybe it's something other than fat. And then that interacts. And in my case, there is a break. Usually there's a break here before the chin. And most people will have, you know, that, you know, just a little bit of the fat coming in through here. Okay? So that's the neck. All right? Did I do that quick enough? Yes. Any questions? Comments?